All right, here we are, episode 6 of the MPU podcast. It's my pleasure and honor to have one of my former teammates from Middletown High School. He is a former walk-on at the University of Connecticut, where he played. He is a great friend of mine, and some may call him my older brother, Mr. Jeff Woodcock from Middletown, Connecticut. Pleasure to have you on, man. Thanks for joining tonight.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me on. Obviously we've been talking about it for a little bit. Definitely want to come on. I like what you've been doing. So
Appreciate it, bro.
definitely love to come and chop it up and talk about the different experiences. I know you've had all walks of dudes coming on and all their stories are all different. So,
Yeah, dude.
you know,
Yeah, it's been pretty cool, man. Like I started this at the end of or kind of in the middle of May, going into June. And, I got to connect with a couple different coaches, couple different trainers, a lot of interest for future episodes, but I know we kind of started talking about this probably a couple months ago now. So I'm happy to finally get you on, a little bit of a different platform here than originally I intended. But I think this works for my platform and my ability to reach athletes like yourself, former athletes like yourself, and professionals out there. So it's cool to have you on, man. And for the audience that doesn't know who Jeff Woodcock is, give him a little bit of background on Mr. Woody over there.
we could spin it back. Obviously, like most people played midget football. Little different story than like you guys. I played at Cromwell. Even though I wasn't from Cromwell, it was weird because I lived close enough to the town my dad did, whatever. Played
Yeah,
there, then came to Middletown. And realistically, you go from playing in Cromwell, then you go and play Middletown. It's different. You know what I'm
different
saying?
ball,
It's a lot
man.
more diverse than Middletown. So, it was funny those first couple practices, kind of just like, I don't know, getting used to everything. But you know,
You made
I
that transition once you were in high school or when you were in youth?
no. From eighth grade, so like midgets, like up to eighth grade, I played in Cromwell. So the
Gotcha.
first time I played with anyone from Middletown was freshman year.
Gotcha.
So, realistically, I was on the fence between going between Xavier and Middletown High,
Yeah.
and I was leaning towards Xavier. But then, so I've known Coach Morello forever, so, right? So I did midget football in Cromwell. Morello was the head coach of Cromwell.
Yep.
I used to water boy for him when he was the high school coach in Cromwell. So I used to be out there by a little midget jersey back in fifth, sixth grade, running out the water, the high school team, all that was there for the state championship. She was crazy. And yeah, and then because I was talking with him and I heard the rumors, and I texted him. I was like, hey, like, this might impact my decision here. Like, what are you doing? And he mentioned he was going to Middletown, and I was like, you know what? I'd rather not have to do summer school for Xavier. I'd rather go play for Morello, and the rest is that. Ended up dragging, and full full 180 from freshman year, because my freshman team. So Coach Morello's first year, you got to think that he was taking the program from nothing. The varsity team won one game the year prior,
Yep.
which
I remember that year. Yep.
got Morello comes in, the varsity team goes 6-4. Now, my freshman squad was a bunch of knuckleheads. So we went 1-9, right? And the only win that we had, we beat like Connard or something like that. We were getting so rowdy on the bus ride back. And I'm not going to name drop here, but there was some people in the back of the bus. And you remember how we used to have the portable lockers, right? Were
Yep.
you there for?
I
Yep.
was well.
So
I got there after that happened, but I heard the stories of the portable lockers. Yeah.
that when I tell you that shit was straight out of like a movie. Like, it was just so dinky, and it was horrible.
Well, it was a brand new program at the time, right? Like brand new high school. You guys, right, were the
Good
first
thing,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
It did fit. The thing was, they were supposed to have that built when the high school happened, but then
Yeah.
because of stuff with the budget, whatever, it took longer. So my first year, we were in the portable lockers, and the my first 2 years, I think it was portable lockers. So the first freshman year, like I said, we were horrible. 1-9, our only win. We're pulling in, and we were pulling in because you remember where they were near the softball field. We're
Yep.
pulling in, and somebody opened up the emergency door. And then the 2 jugs that we used to have the water in to get them out, those fell out the back of the bus. So that next practice, Morello left varsity and came over to us and made us run 40s till people were like puking. He
Yeah.
was so mad. You know him, so he's just red
Yep.
as a tomato. Yay big. Just, you guys think you're so big, you only won 1 game, and it was
Oh
rough.
yeah, I
But
remember those days. I was
oh
short-lived
yeah,
back then. Yeah.
lot more tame now. Let me tell you, that
Oh
dude
yeah.
is definitely the kids chilled him out for sure. But
A little bit of that, a little bit of age, but who's counting, right? He'll hear this
yeah,
maybe.
right. And the funny thing was, so like freshman year, I played a little bit of JV. There were a couple of us just because he wanted to get us the experience. Like, it was his first year. Like, they went 6-4. They had 6 seniors maybe. So like,
Yep.
High school football, you're relying on a lot of sophomores. You remember the class ahead of me,
Yeah.
Zay,
Yeah,
Core, like all of them.
you guys had some
But then
dogs.
nobody could make it past to the Thanksgiving game because of
Yeah.
grades.
Yep.
Finally turned that around. My sophomore year, I didn't play because I fractured my femur, my tibia, and then I had stomach problems. I had my gallbladder out. And it's
Jeez.
funny, if you ever have Dario on, you got to remember to ask him. Morello was giving them updates as like things are going on, because I was in and out of the hospital for like 30 days.
Yep.
Uh, he came up and told me, like, when I came back, he's like, bro, we thought you were about to die or something like that. I'm like, bro, like,
That's crazy.
I was fine. Like, I didn't need my gallbladder out, but like, I wasn't even in school, nothing like that. So then we roll into junior year, and I'm like, all right, like, we definitely got some steam this year, because like we did, I don't know, I think we went like another 6-4 years, something like that, sophomore year, because that was Devin started off at quarterback, then moved to running back, let Dario be quarterback,
Yep.
get him. And then we go into junior year. Obviously, we have all the skills, but like our line was so young that like
Yeah.
we weren't able to area. We were relying on a lot of throwing and stuff like that. And I also got thrown in the mix, thrown right in the center after not playing all sophomore year. I played
Yeah.
freshman year.
That's crazy.
So now I'm starting varsity center. Bro, when I tell you the yips, the liability I was at center for snapping the ball when I wasn't supposed to, snapping it too early, nothing, like I couldn't go on, like Derek used to just go say hit rather than like down, say hit. And so even if he was gonna make it audible, like he would have the same cadence. So if he'd be like say hit, or he'd be like red, red, and it just the cadence sounded the same, and I was just so wired, whoosh, that ball is going, so he better
Yeah.
catch that.
Yep.
But yeah, like, sophomore year we ended up making the playoffs, faced Massick, and then we kind of just, I believe we were up at the half, and then we just crumbled.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things. I remember getting on the bus, and I was like, all right, like next year's gonna be different. Like we finally got like the taste of the playoffs. Like, oh, we're excited to make the playoffs, but like we definitely were too inexperienced all around, like
Yeah.
maturity wise,
Yep.
wise, to like put it all together. Because football, you need on all levels.
Yep.
So I remember like especially taking a big, like, I don't know, I took a lot of pride going into senior year. And what's actually crazy about it, I think I might have told Coach Morello that, might not have, and I haven't really told many people this, but I didn't really play much linebacker. I played just center, and I was a $175, $180 junior year. Maybe got up to $190 for senior year.
Jeez, that's what I was playing at. It was 190.
Dude, and the thing was, is I want to play more linebacker, but he liked me at center. He's like, oh, like you're a good center, and like,
yeah,
obviously, like what his whole plan was is he wanted to try and run it more like almost like a college program, in the aspect of like not having as many guys go both ways.
yeah,
And if you
yeah.
were going both, it was like running back that were rotating. It was, like safeties, like it was like kind of like stuff like that. Like if you were, like part of the line, like Ray would play defense, but like Ray was swapping in and out because we'd swap out the line just to keep everything fresh.
Yeah.
And like I was thinking about like not playing senior year at some point, because I was just so mad about just playing center. But then I kind of sat there in the off season, and I realized like how much fun I was having, like weightlifting and things like that. And I'm like, why like would I not do this? Like I come this far, like we got a good team, like suck it up, just get it done, right?
We did have a team that year. I mean, I was on scout, but we had a team that year.
Oh, bro, senior year, like I remember, I don't remember exactly how the script went with who we played first and all that, but like I remember first couple games we won pretty good, and I was like, yeah, like this is nice. I remember we were playing like teams that were decent, but I remember that our schedule was a bit more backloaded,
Yeah.
and at least from like knowing how they played last year and how they ended up that year,
Right.
and played Bristol Central, and they were supposed to be a really good team, and we mopped them. And I was like, bet, like sounds good. We go
Yeah.
into home, was it homecoming or senior night? It was one it was one or the other. I think it was actually homecoming. And we're facing Farmington. And
Yep.
Farmington comes in chirping. They come in, they're smacking their pads. They get on the field. We're both undefeated going into this. They're in the conference, this big ass game. So, of course, we're warming up and they're at the 50-yard line barking. So, I don't need to name people, but there was some people that didn't take too kindly to that, started
Oh
walking
yeah.
towards the 50-yard line, warm up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember just the energy, just feeling everybody just ready to go. I remember that was when Coach Morello, you remember Coach Morello grabbed the trash can, went to throw it, and he clocked one of the bed
We
knobs.
don't talk about that. Gonna have to edit that one out.
Allegedly. He wasn't trying to hit nobody, but somebody
He
caught a
threw
strike.
threw a trash can.
Yeah. So then we went into that game. I remember that game was close, getting down to it. And then I forget how we pulled away. Game was close. I think Yamal had like a long run from like the 50. And like I just remember being pumped because there was like 3 minutes left in the game. I think we were up by 1 because I think they missed an extra point.
Yeah.
And then we scored a touchdown, made the extra point. So we are up a touchdown and would have been a 2-point conversion, just tie. And I win that game. And I'm like, all right, like, we got something good going. But the thing is that in that game, Dario throws a pick. And I go trying to run after the ball. And I don't know if it was one of the guys I was blocking, I don't know who it was, but basically, dude came in and just put his helmet right in my back. So I fall flat down trying to pursue the tackle, right? So he hits me from the back. No flag, which is the most wild thing ever. I'm laying on the ground. And like, Jared and all my boys are up in the student section. I hear him, Woody. And I'm like, I gotta get up right now, right?
Yeah.
Get up. Go over to sideline, but I'm still kind of delirious. I'm like, coach, like call a timeout. Like I'll go in next play. He goes, dude, we're on defense. Like you're good. Cause like I knew like you have to sit out a play once you get pulled out by the trainer to then be able to go back, or you take a timeout and go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, all right, like whatever, we're going to finish out this game. Then we had that drive, finished out the game, getting all excited as per usual, get into the locker room playing Miley Cyrus Party in USA. Everything's all hype. Everything's lit. I go into the bathroom. And I'm like, damn, I got to take a piss. Bro, when I tell you that shit was just straight blood, I was like, oh, this
blood?
is not good. Oh, bro, like solo cup. It was like,
bro.
and I'm like, all right.
This was why didn't I even know about this? Like, you didn't tell anybody about this, right?
That was the thing. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my dad. I didn't tell anybody. Like, I just tried keeping it close. And then I stayed at Devontae Williams' house that night.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep. I was having the stabbing pain. I told my dad, like, I think something's up. Like, I can go to the hospital. By that time, my piss like turned clear. I was still dehydrated. It's like I couldn't really like tell at that point.
Yeah, from the game. And yeah.
We're going to New London game. And their opening night for their brand new stadium is against us. This is the on TV. This is like the whole night.
I remember this game. Yeah. They had a big ass lineman. I remember that kid, that specifically that. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
I remember this.
And
yeah.
So the thing was that it was coming down. I was telling Coach Ron, like, if I'm good to play, I'm going to play. And Derek was taking the reps at center with the ones, shifted him over, brought in Lissandro at tackle, bumped Ray over, put Lissandro at guard, whatever the combo was. But I was telling Ron, like, listen, like, I'm not practicing this week because they said we got to wait till Friday. Friday, we're going to do another test. see if you have any trace of blood in your urine. If you don't, you're good. Good to play. So I packed my bag to play. Go in, they're like, nah, can't play. But the thing was that since I kept everything so hush hush, it was literally between Morello, my dad, and me. Like,
Wow.
well, I don't even name the trainer. She didn't even know.
Wow.
So I packed my bag, but of course I drive from because my dad came with me to the appointment, and because this is back before I didn't have a car, so I wish I could have just drove myself because I drop him off at the house, I drive the car over, got my stuff packed. I'm like, I'm still playing. I don't care. I get up, I start walking around the gate. I'm walking up the fence, and Morel's first one to come up to me, and I'm like, Coach. He goes, I'm sorry to hear you can't play. I'm thinking about him like, Dad, why did you do that? And then, they had the storybook ending of, there was just so many flags, so much BS, and they won on a last second field goal. And
yeah, I remember.
That just killed me because I wanted to be out with everybody. And
yeah,
game was on TV, like if people watching, I was just like, oh,
I remember that whole season, man, was just like I was a freshman at the time for the audience that's listening. And it's just like, you were someone I looked up to while you were obviously going through I didn't know all this for the crowd that's listening. So preface that, it just makes you fucking baller even more, man. Like, besides that though, like, going into that year, I had made the varsity team late in the season. So I made it actually that New London game. So I was on the field for that game. I remember specifically. And, and then after that, we went into the playoffs and, won the first game. And then we went to Darien.
Well, I want to backtrack a little bit because when I tell you beat Windsor, won the conference.
Well, I remember that. Yeah.
Hype.
Yeah, that
I
was
remember
crazy.
Thanksgiving Day, because we played the night before. Thanksgiving Day, we knew by the time we were eating our meals on Thanksgiving, we know who we'd be playing. And then it shows we're playing New London again.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was the first round, right? Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
we
do
were playing
remember that.
Our turf. And I was like, all right, listen, I'm not the religious type, but I was just like, oh, if there's a God out there, he did something for us because he gave us a rebound.
I mixed that up actually because I was dressed for that second New London game. I wasn't dressed for the first one. So because you guys went to New London the first time, right? And then they came to us. Yeah. So I was dressed for that second game.
Yeah. And just the vibes that week. Like when I tell you that was the most locked in the team has been the entire week. And that was a short week because the thing was we played Wednesday night and then the first playoff game was the following Tuesday.
Tuesday,
yeah. Saturday, and then the following Saturday.
That was when the CIAC just didn't know what was going on. Now they got like a bunch of different divisions, dude. It's so crazy how they work it.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how much they flip flop because like what for your senior year they went back to that double LL, double MM, double SS, and like they only had double LMS for like my senior, and whatever they flipped it all around.
Now there's like
going
two
in that
different
London
divisions.
game, I was like, bro, we are not really.
Yeah, so for each division, like there's class L, there's class L1 and class L2, or it's class L small and class L something like that. But like we were in the smaller bracket. I don't know how it works, but it goes by like number of boys in the school, I guess now. So I guess that's how they calculate it. Yeah.
And dude, I just, like I said, I remember just being so locked in for that game. And I just remember getting on the field and I had a crackback block like right in front of their coach. And I just put their dude flat on his back. I was amped, right? And it was funny because like I was always just trying to look for those because like I mean, yeah, I do my blocks, whatever, get a pancake here and there, but like
yeah, bro.
I just remember just trying to headhunt, bro. I remember just like looking like because I know Dario's taking off. So like if I just block this guy, throw him off to the side, don't worry about this pancake. I can sprint down the field, pivot, turn back around, and lay somebody out. Like that's like I mean that's all you did in high school. You're just looking heads off, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember because the biggest thing too between the first game and the second game, they ran like a 5 front. and they had a skinny guy at center or at their nose tackle. Normally, once they did a couple drives against us, and they realized that I mean, I don't want to take credit that like it wasn't that I wasn't playing, but after a couple drives, they switched and they put this big guy on. And they just had a bull rush.
Yeah.
And you have Derek who's just learning how to snap, making it tough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then they have the small kid on me, and I'm just mowing him back the entire time. And, you know, I'm tripping, doing whatever. We wax them, feeling great, right? And then the Darien game comes around. And I tell you one thing, like there's two. This is a full regret. The other is kind of just circumstantial, and I'll get to that one later because it's later in the story. But like, we play that game, we're playing the first half, and we are not playing like Middletown football. Like we're winning at the half, I believe it was, but like Vaughn missed like 2 field goals. Like,
yeah, I think we were up 7-0 at the half.
Bro, we fumbled the ball like the 10-yard line. Like they got the ball back. Like I remember going into the locker room and I was so focused on trying to, I forget, I don't know. I was trying to talk some scheme or something like that with Dario, like with a front. And like, I wish like I'd saved that and just laid into everybody. Cause like, I don't know, sometimes like I just would do that. It's like, yo, like this is not us. Like just trying to get
going,
like,
yeah. I mean, I did
bro,
the same thing as a captain, yeah.
We didn't have the wind in the sails, I felt like at that point. Like we were kind of just coasted. And I regret not just losing it. You know, like I wish I was just like, bro, like y'all need to turn it up because we have not shown up yet. Like we need to show up. Then obviously the game goes on, and you know we also didn't have one of our prime blocking receivers there for other reasons that will not be talked about on the podcast. But you know, it was defeating knowing that we had a team that should have easily beat them.
Yeah.
And what killed me more is that Darien faced, was it? It wasn't Massac. It was another blue team.
I think it was Massac that year. I want to say they end because I want to say it was Massac, but I have to go back and look at it because we're talking, for the crowd that's listening, we're talking what, 2014? No, we're talking 2014. You old bitch, bro.
Yeah. Badass though. And the thing was that they were playing, that was the first year they switched the game from Rensselaer to Central, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But then when the way they had the game slotted, because they did S early, M like midday, L at like 3:00 or whatever it was, and then double L was like, or I think L was the night game or like 5:00 game, and then double L played like the next day.
Yeah.
And it was snowing, and whoever they were facing was just like a passing team. And I was like, dude, the way we were running the ball that year, like Dario Gatorade Player of the Year, like we had a line, like, bro, the stats we put up were just ridiculous. Like,
oh, I remember, bro. I remember. Yeah, I remember. And one thing I do remember from that season was, I think it was Jacob Homar at that game, at that last game. He was like crying in front of the team and like was like, yo, like, I got all of you boys, even the freshmen, like your family. And like from that moment on, like I think that kind of sparked, that moment being in that game sparked, I think, something in like our class at least. And we saw the potential of you guys. And it was like you guys at that point, like without even knowing it, passed the torch down. Like it was, you know, all of us, like even though we were hurting in that game, was like, you know, we knew we had each other's back, and our class, you know, was going to be ones to take the torch on. And, you know, and eventually I think that kind of translated as, you know, Dario became a senior, and, you know, we really had to step up because the class above us was, they were good. They had good athletes, but I think our caliber of play was just different the way we played down in 2017. But yeah, man, you guys really lit that torch, I think, and that kind of attributes, obviously, you know, to your leadership and to the other seniors at the time, you know, and I think that's what made you a great ball player, and still, to, you know, it speaks for itself when you went to college. and you didn't play college ball for the first few years. And so what was that like for you? Like coming off that loss, thought in your head maybe that was your last game of your career, right? I mean, at that point.
Yeah. So at that point, the way it went from then into, because there's like the instinct of like still thinking I'm gonna potentially play football, because I knew I was gonna go to a big school. I knew I was gonna have to walk on potentially, right?
Yep.
Ironically, I go do the all-star game tryouts, which were down in like New Haven at the field house or
Yeah, I
whatever.
remember that.
I only tried out at linebacker. And um one of the so I ended up playing, but I only tried out at linebacker. And the head coach of the other team was Coach Marin, and he was then head coach Xavier.
Xavier.
I knew him
Yep.
for a while. He was like, yeah, like, we got to go through the whole draft process. But I definitely want to take you at linebacker. It's just probably going to be later. I was like, all right, whatever, like, sounds good. So I felt good about it.
Yeah.
I'm touring Atlantic, which is where I ended up going, and I get a text saying, congrats, you got drafted as a lineman for the all-star team. I text back going, I'm sorry, are you texting the wrong number? I only tried out a linebacker. And he goes, nah, you played against us this year, and I feel really bad because I'm forgetting his name, but the New London head coach was the offensive line coach for the team that I got drafted to. And he's like, yeah, like, I remember seeing you play in that game, and I wanted to have you as a lineman on my team.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know what? I'm here, gonna do it. And so we played an all-star game. Ray got drafted to my team. Ray was on my team. Sam, Jacob, and David Bednarz were on the other team.
Oh wow. So you're
And
playing against your boys. That's crazy.
the funniest thing was that, like, we were in the first practice or two, and of course, New London coach drafted the two good wide receivers they had. You remember, like, number 12, number 5?
Yeah.
So we were just chopping it up before one of the practices, and they're like, "Oh, like, we're just chirping back and forth, talking about how we beat them in the playoffs. Oh, beating the regular season." I'm like, "Yeah, but like, put on the film real quick. Who was playing? Who wasn't playing in the first game? Who was playing in the second game? Do you see 55 in the first game? No. See 55 in the second game? Yeah. Look at the score of the second game. Look at the score of the first game." So I was just chirping them.
Yeah.
All-star men's. I'm officially going to Florida Atlantic. When I got down there, I just messed up paperwork to try and walk on to Florida
Oh,
Atlantic.
okay. So
They
your
needed
intention was to play. Wow.
My
I
intention
didn't
was
know
to try
that.
and walk on. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But the thing was that I thought I could do the walk-on tryout and then get the doctor notes of vaccinations, this and that, whatever they needed, all blood work. They needed it prior to. And I found this out. The tryouts were 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I found this out when I was moving in that Monday at like 5.
Wow.
So wasn't able to make it. No exceptions, no nothing.
Wow.
So I was like, maybe I'll do it the second semester. Then by the end of the first semester, I was like, I transfer back. At that point, I was like, all right, looks like football's done for me now. So already, put it to bed, was fine with my decision. And then we go into junior year of college, and my buddy Jarius Bailey, shout out to him, because listen,
Shout
I
out
would
to
not
23
have played
athlete.
football at UConn at all if it was. Dude, I'm telling you, if it was, I have to give him so much credit, and I feel like I haven't done it enough. If it was not for him, because I moved into my apartment at UConn, and we were out, partying, whatever. It was like the week before school started. I got back to my apartment, and he shoots me a text. He's like, "Yo, you up?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Bro, look at this." And he sends me a screenshot that UConn football is doing a walk-on tryout the next week. He's like, "Yo, you should do it." And I mean, I'd still been like lifting and running and things like that. So
Yeah.
like, I was
Yeah.
like,
So
"Yo,
you're in shape.
yeah, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Why not?" Start doing a bunch of field drills and all that. And I know we are going to move into the weight room eventually, but like doing the field drills, I was like, all right, even if my times aren't going to be that good, I need to do the drills right. Because I noticed
Yeah.
some guys were doing the drills and they were doing them how the coaches said it. And that
Yeah.
discipline's a huge thing of football. So like, if you're not taking
100%.
instructions properly, they're not even going to look at you.
Yep.
So I made sure all the drills, doing them exactly right. Like, regardless of time, I couldn't control what my time was going to be at that point, because it wasn't like I knew when I was training for 3 months to run a 40, run a 3-cone, do this and that.
Yeah.
But I've been lifting. So I was like, all right, once again in the weight room, that's when I'm really going to be able to show my weight. And then, which helped me out more, because they had 225 on the bar initially to bench. And I was like, all right, like, I could do this. I think my max at that point was probably like, it was like 16, 17 maybe at that point. And then they bumped it down to 185. And I was like, oh, this is gravy.
Yeah.
And I put it up to 20, 25 plus, maybe somewhere in that range. And I racked it. And I was like, you know what? That's all my effort. So if they like me, they like me. They don't, they don't. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I get a call 2 days later, because the big thing they told us at the end, they're like, listen, even if you're good and like we like you, but if we're full at your position, like it's just like we're not going to take you on the team.
Yeah.
So the player personnel guy calls me and goes, I got good news, I got bad news. And I was just in my head, he's like, what do you want to hear first? I'm thinking that he's going to tell me, we like you, you're good, but we're full at linebacker. So I'm like, all right, tell me the bad news. And he's like, you're going to have to change your class schedule because you made the team. And I was like, oh, let's go. Like, this is sick.
Yeah.
But to like talk about my experience, like, I guess we'll just keep it going in the timeline, because I feel like it shows the best bobs and highs and lows here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Keep going, bro. I'm all ears, because I don't know
I
this
walk
story
up-
myself. So
like, I make the team, and my biggest thing, I mean, I was never like a troublemaker type of deal. I talk my smack here and there, but like I always like, especially getting in a new group, like I like got to keep to myself, kind of do my thing. And whatever, I make the team, I'm just doing my lifting, doing this, doing that, whatever. And then like the second or third week during the, because I walked on, I made the team. They told me I was on the team. UConn's first week, they had a game that Thursday. They told me on that Tuesday that I made the team. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And they're like, yeah, come to the game, you'll be able to get on sidelines. But the thing is like, I already was going to a wedding. And I already, not good because I was skipping class, but I already left. Like I left like campus and all that to go to a wedding. It was out of state. And I'm like,
oh wow.
I'm like, sorry, like I can't be at the game. Like I already physically left the state and I don't have a vehicle here. Like my dad picked me up and drove me.
Yeah.
And so then we had practice that Sunday, and then introduced me, whatever. And I go through like the first 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was like the third or fourth week, I get scout team player of the week hype, right?
Yeah.
At the same time that that's happening, there's an instance where I got accused of stealing headphones from somebody. And
on the team at the time?
On the team, kid, a couple lockers down from. And of course, being the new guy, the last thing you want is a red flag for being that somebody is.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be real calm, like, no, this is not, like, I did not do that. Circumstances got brought to my attention that, like, I don't have them sitting here, but like, you remember the Beats earbuds that had the wire that went around the back and they wrapped around your ears?
Yep.
So I had white ones. The dude had white ones. I lost the rubber piece of mine. So I went on Amazon and bought the Amazon basic black earbuds that go on them.
Yep.
Guess what? He
also
did the same thing. So I try and go up to him. I was like, dude, like, listen, like he never even came up and told me. Ironically, my boy Santana, my dog to this day. And from this moment was when I knew we were going to be buddies. Because I went up. So I go up to the kid and I told him, I was like, listen, I literally pulled up the Amazon receipts and I showed him. I was like, dude, I bought this. Like, this is my Amazon orders. I bought these. These are not yours, no matter what you think. And he just shrugs me off, whatever. So I'm like, well, I've done what I can do. No big deal. Next day, Santana comes up to me and he goes, yo, like, because Santana was a transfer, played Arizona State, then went back down to JUCO, and then he came to UConn on a scholarship. And he just came up to me one day and like, yeah, I'd like, obviously we were linebackers, so like kind of, we dapped up, whatever. I knew his name. He's like, yo, like, just keep your head on a swivel. And I'm like, what do you mean, like in practice? He's like, nah, like I heard something that somebody mentioned that you might get jumped. And I'm like,
Wow.
well, what?
Wow.
Like stealing headphones. So then at this point, I did what I could do. I left it there. Then I started getting heated.
Yeah.
So then what I started doing is I knew who the guy hung out with, and I was like kind of cool with them. Or if I was like in the same group, I'm like, bro, like I can't believe this kid's like accusing me of stealing headphones. Like, look, I bought these, and like I had and I'm purposely showing people that I bought this stuff to like make me not look bad.
Yeah, of course.
And like it would be like one of those things, like when you go through warm lines, like everybody like high fives.
Yeah.
Just he was in my line, and guess who would never dap me up, but dap everybody else up in line every single time warm-ups? Him.
So it's like petty shit at that point. Like it's like, bro, your teammates, like what?
Oh, so petty and so stupid. And then he finally comes up to me. He's like, yeah, like you good. You didn't steal my headphones. I'm like, I know. All right. You didn't have to verify that to me. Like I knew that. So whatever, left it at that. And that season, we had a couple dudes that were good on that team, just with the culture and all that. Like a lot of guys loved Diaco, the old coach. Edsel came back in. And the big thing is so there's the Burton Family Football Complex and the Shankman Center, which Shankman Center was the Shankmans donated the money to build the indoor football field.
Yep.
The Burtons donated the money for the academic, like the locker room, the whole, all
right.
that.
Yep.
Big donor. When stuff wasn't going the best with Diaco, rumor has it, allegedly, because don't want anybody to say anything wild off of this, but like they were the ones that had a lot of pull with the AD and were like, get him back in. Get him back in. And he would do a lot of the, when I was here before, this blah 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 blah, like just trying to compare. And like in my like, let me just put my head down. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And he
whatever.
went off to coach at, was it Delaware? Where was he at? Where did he leave UConn and go?
He left, and I'll give him a little bit of credit. So he went to Meriden, and I'm gonna
Maryland, right?
Maryland, yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is people give him a lot of stuff for saying that he went on the plane from the Fiesta Bowl straight to Maryland.
Yeah.
Now, the way that it works with the bowl games, if you're a player, whoever, the team pays for your flight there, and you're able to go directly back home. You don't have to go back to campus.
Oh.
So you lived, like, for instance, if you're on the team, you lived in Arizona, you didn't need to fly back. They'd give you the credit, and you could just go back home. You lived in California, your flight would go right from there to California.
Wow.
So that whole leaving on the plane and going there, like everybody had their option to just go back home. Like that's the one thing I will give. Like people gave him a lot of smack for that. But like that's everybody had that. All the coaches, like your flight could go back to wherever you live. Like you didn't need to go back to campus.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Up to a certain threshold of money or whatever it was.
Right.
But
right.
Do the fall season. And the thing is that we were 3-9, but like we had 3 other games where like we were like a competitive team, and our record didn't show what we were. Like we probably could have made it to 6-6 and made a bowl game.
Yeah.
Didn't end up doing that. What is what it is. So then I'm like, all right, going into the senior year, there was the biggest thing with me too is balancing, because again, going from shutting football completely off, because when you're playing football, especially at a collegiate level, you need to be on another type of time to actually be invested to be an asset to the team on the playing field, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
100%.
Like for me, like I was going through a lot of stuff off the field, so I used my, like when I wasn't at football, I put in all my effort in the football, but like I was the college party kid that was also on the team.
Yep.
So like I was, burning the wick at both ends at times.
Fair enough.
I
had my fair share. And
that's what I'm saying,
you're a college kid, and you're in a culture before you were in another culture. And I think part of UConn's culture at the time probably you wanted to get away from when it wasn't football time, So it's fair enough, And it speaks to how good a culture, and that's a lot of what I'm preaching right now to the athletes I work with, is our program is built off of culture. And just, it's as far as how you show up to work motivated every day. And it's, same thing on the football field, is show up and get motivated because of the culture that surrounds you. So I'm sure, and you're a college kid before that wasn't playing ball, so you were in a different crowd. So it makes sense.
Another thing, now that we're getting into this, and I kind of forgot to mention, which is also a big part, and just crazy how I ended up where I'm at, and blessed that I did. But I think I've told you this before the podcast, but like because of everything that was going on off the field in that period from Florida Atlantic, I transferred to UConn, I commute to UConn, then I get up to the main campus. I ended up getting dismissed from UConn. Didn't appeal.
I didn't know that.
Got back. Yeah. Got dismissed. Official letter, like, hasta luego, see you later.
And this was while you were on the team or before?
This was before, because my GPA at one point was like a 1.8 maybe at some point. Solid. Got dismissed, right? And then I build my GPA back up, and then ironically that semester when my buddy sent me that, I realized I just met the GPA threshold because I was like mid 2 or whatever it was. Because like one thing I didn't realize when I transferred from Florida Atlantic, I had a good GPA leaving FAU, but I didn't realize it started over at UConn. So I slacked off because I was just trying to get my mind off of other stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was in engineering at the time as well. And you can't slack off when you're in engineering.
No, so not at all. No.
That was a tough combo. Switched from engineering, went to psych and soc, brought that back up, and then again back on the team. Also, everything that was at my disposal, from the guy, I was able to have tutors one-on-one for every single class. Like,
wow.
That was like as like a student athlete, but then also just as a regular student, like you have like the Q Center, which was like our math center. You had, they had I forget what they were called, but like the instructional, like the TAs from the course would host like
teachers assistants and stuff. Yeah.
So like I was, my entire time up until senior year, I would go to one-on-one tutoring for I think I did 4 classes a semester. So I would do one-on-one tutoring for every single class, all 4 classes each semester, all 3 semesters on the team. And I would go to all those extra sessions just because like I was like, all right, like I'm on the team, I gotta get this up and really focus on the weight room, like all that stuff. We get into the off season, and especially the off season, like you're gonna put on a lot of weight, and
100%, yeah,
you're lifting like a maniac. And it was one of the times where like having access to the cold tubs and the proper way to rehab and like all that stuff, and like I had like such like a routine of all that just helped, and the nutrition and like all the stuff that was just at my disposal, like all the protein shakes and all the snacks and food. Like the crazy part about this, and this is another thing I forgot, my first semester on the team, because I was the only dude on the team that didn't have a meal plan, because the way it worked, if you were on scholarship, you had a full scholarship, you had a meal plan, or you were on campus, you had to have a meal plan when you were on campus.
Right. And you were commuting.
Yeah. I was off. So what they tried telling me my first semester on the team is that I couldn't eat there because they didn't have a meal plan. And when I had to switch my schedule that fall, I had to do 4 hour and 15-minute courses all back to back, Tuesday and Thursday. We had practice. So Mondays were off. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were practices, full pads.
Yep.
And I would go, practice would end at 10:45. I'd have half an hour to shower, change, grab a couple protein shakes. I would stuff my bag with stuff and then go to 4 classes all back to back. And I couldn't grab the meals, like the hot meals that they were having.
Yeah.
And then the weight training staff, they're like, how are you not keeping weight? Like I wasn't gaining, like I wasn't able to go up lifting weights. Like my body weight, like my range was like 225 to 230. I was barely hanging on at 220. Like, what's the deal? Like, you not eating? I'm like, well, according to the player personnel guy, I can't eat here. And I live off campus and I have half an hour from when coach blows the whistle, the practice ends, to when I have to be in my first of 4 classes those 2 days and be back to back all day. And I'm not buying food on campus because I don't got the money like that.
Yeah.
Then miraculously, oh, we found out that you're able to do this and do that. I'm like, yeah, of course, because I started floating around the idea, telling some of the training staff, like, I'm about to just go to the NCAA or go to athletic student affairs and tell them how BS this is. And the last thing they want is a red flag and a story coming out about, a kid that's just not able to eat after practice and then got to stay in classes for 6 hours straight. You know what I'm saying? Like that would look
Malnourished
so bad.
athlete, Jeff Woodcock.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And it was just like,
UConn athlete.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
dude.
it
No,
just like then
it is crazy though. Like to save their own ass. Like how I mean, dude, I went through my own sort of thing during COVID, and you know, um, we had guys that were hanging out, and we had a small cookout. We were cooking, grilling burgers and dogs, nothing crazy. And one of the neighbors in the area took a picture of us all on the deck. And mind you, like everybody that's in the pic, we're all teammates, we're all there for camp. And we get a message from our coach, and he's like, we gotta talk. And it was our captain, like everybody on the team, and mostly like this was at the start of COVID. And like it's crazy what like the university like will do to one keep it more on the hush hush, because like we were the first incident. Football was everything at Western New England, and this being the first incident kick started almost everything else at the school that happened. Like then next week that we find out that there's 70 freshmen on the quad partying, drinking, smoking. Meanwhile, we were just having a backyard barbecue, and we get called in. We meet with the president of the school, and the way the situation was handled was just like everything was kept hush hush, but we were kind of, made an example out of, which to fair, COVID was its own, animal and whatnot. And, we probably shouldn't have been hanging out during that time, but we're all teammates. And it's like, we weren't like partying like crazy. We were just having burgers and dogs and chilling. And yeah, that stayed on the very, very like low. Like all the like teams and stuff that would get in trouble, it was always like kept on the low. And it's like it's crazy how one bad story though, if that hit the headlines of a news article, what that does for a publicity standpoint. And just so yeah, I saw it from a different angle, in different situations. But yeah, it's crazy.
and it's also crazy because I got another story that's very similar to that. So kind of continuing the timeline here, do weightlifting, and we're getting towards the end of our summer lifts. So like we're going into like max out week. We're going like, we're lifting heavy, getting all crazy, putting in extra work. I also because of about to get dismissed and transferring. Obviously, one, I did a 5th year, but 2, I needed to take 3 classes going into senior year during the summer. And I remember I was like in lifting at one point, and one of our guys, like, and I understand, listen, trying to create a culture and trying to be serious. One of my teammates was I didn't hear much of what happened of how it led to it, but I'm putting weights on the squat rack, and I turn around and I see one of my teammates punch the other one in the face, and he starts bleeding. Start getting into a fight. I start trying to break it up. Other teammates running in and break it up, whatever. I go to my classes. I get like 2 or 3 calls while I'm in class, and I'm like, I literally walked out of class. I'm like, you have to stop calling. And it's the player personnel guy. I'm like, you have to stop calling me. I'm literally in class. You have my schedule.
Yeah.
Why are you calling me multiple times right now? It's like, when you're done, please, like just come on over. Like, we got to talk to you. Like, you're not in trouble. Whatever. I finish my class, go back over there, and I go to talk to Edsel. And Edsel, he's like, oh, so like, I heard that like you were like one of the main ones that was right there when this all happened. I was like, yeah, I saw, I saw exactly what happened, and I kind of heard, basically all I heard was the kid that threw the punch was like, "Why are you laughing?" The other kid was like, "I'm not laughing." And he's like, "Yeah, you were." And then nothing else was really said. Then the punch was thrown. Now it was kind of like as I started like kind of turning around.
Yep.
So I bring it up and I told that. So I was like, "Listen, like I understand, like everybody's got to be accountable, this, and that, but like I definitely think that was over the line."
Yep.
And then Edsel just started to rip me a new one. And he's
Really?
like, back in my day when I was here before, like, this happened all the time. And, it is what it is. But you guys can just be so soft. And at that point, I just like shut stuff off. And I already kind of wasn't liking him because Edsel's big thing, which I have not mentioned and really brought up my direct relationship with Edsel going up to this point. But if you weren't one of his recruits, he didn't like you. You were a Diaco recruit. You had to do 10 things right. You did one thing wrong. You went back down a rung on the depth chart. You
Wow.
did 5 things right as his recruit. You did one thing right. Oh, you'd be fighting for that. You'd be bumped up next to the starter, fighting for that starting spot next practice. And it's like, and then as a walk on, I mean, like you, like
Yeah,
you're the
dude.
aftermath of that.
Yeah.
So, at that point, I was at that point was when I shut it all out. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm definitely not playing for him. I'm playing for my boys on this team right now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
100%.
one reps. Like, I'm hoping at this point, and I'm real with myself. Knew I wasn't going to go out there and be a starter, and especially not rotate at linebacker at that point because, again, he wasn't giving me the time of day or whatever. And we, what's it called? Go into the season, and we had UCF at home, first game of the year. This was coming off their undefeated season.
Oh
So they were
yeah.
ranked.
The year they won was it the year they won the national championship or no?
Yes.
Yeah, the national championship.
And then the next week was Boise State. Boise State was also ranked.
I remember
And
that
of
game.
course, my senior year, we were the teams that had one of the most flying miles of away games where we had to go.
Yep.
We get romped at home. Again, in my mind, kind of figured. And at this point, Edsel, like after that instance, then like before the season starts, he goes, "Listen, like right now you're not on a spot to travel, but we want you to come and help, be up in the box and, be on the headset, talk to the coaches, like give us an insight." And I was like, all right. So like, that's what I was doing. I understood
Yeah.
my role. That was fine. Cool with it. Still got to travel, still got to do all that. And, I knew we would have had to really be on it to give them a fight both of those games, but we just going into a game when you're not there for it, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like especially like
100%.
when you're not having a good Friday walkthrough.
Oh, you know that Saturday is gonna be hell, bro. You know that Saturday is gonna be hell. You have a bad Friday walkthrough and shit's just slow. Yeah, bro. You were in for a game that Saturday. It was always like that though. It was like, I mean, I feel like that's just the going thing. If you're just having a draggish, sluggish week in practice, you know that game's gonna be rough.
Rough.
Yeah, rough.
And so we lose to UCF, get smacked, play Boise State, get romped. The worst part about it was it's a five-ish hour flight out. The way it goes, you play the game, and it was a night game in Idaho. 7 o'clock start. Play the game. Then you go right from the game, you go right to the airport, hop on the plane, take the plane back here. So we take 5 hours to get back to Connecticut. Then it's about, because you're riding a bus, and by the time everything is loaded, it's about an hour 15, hour and a half to get from Bradley back to
Back
stores.
to stores, yeah.
So
So you weren't getting back
9:30,
till 3, 4 a.m. probably.
bro,
Later
we
than
didn't
that.
pull back till like 9 a.m. that Sunday morning
Oh my god.
after getting our cheeks plundered, bro.
Oh
And
my
like, all right, like I was talking to my boys. I'm like, all right, like we got to tighten up here. Like, we gotta like we kind of string a couple along here, and we're just thinking bowl game. Like, we just gotta get 6 wins, and then get spanked. And as time's going on, I'm like, all right, like I tried talking to Edsel like 1 or 2 more times. I was like, listen, like tell me what I need to do better to give
Fine,
myself a
dude.
shot on special teams.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do at this point. Like I knew I wasn't gonna get in on defense. Like you got to be real with yourself at some point, especially
Yeah.
like in sports.
Yeah.
You know,
100%, dude.
and I was like, I just want to get in on special teams. Kept pushing off. Oh, just gotta work hard and do good in the drills. I do good in the drills. And you know what?
No recognition.
Third string. You know what? If you're third string on special teams, that doesn't mean that I would get to see it. Be like, oh, we're gonna bring your pads, but you're gonna be up in the box, and that's what it was every week. I'd pack everything, cleats, sweatbands, gloves, the whole nine. I'd pack everything every week, and then by the time we got there, if we were leaving, now you're gonna be up in the box. We got to East Hartford, now you're gonna be in the box.
Good God.
And then by the time we started off, I think we barely beat URI. I think it was like last second they were in like the red zone, and we
At
got
that
a
time,
strip sack.
URI was dog shit too. I remember that.
Dog water.
Yeah.
And we so then we end up we're 1-5. I think by the time we got to 6 losses and we looked at the rest of the schedule, because we still had to play Cincy. Cincy was raw. And
Yeah.
we had to play Temple. Temple at the time was nasty too.
Yeah.
That's back when they had Cool, and they had I can't remember the studs they had on that team, but they had some good dudes
studs.
on that
Yeah.
team.
I remember that squad.
And I just remember like we got past that, and I'm like, we're not playing a bowl game. I'm like, all right, like at this point, like I just want to be able to keep the tutors and everything, like because I want to tell Edsel off at this point. That's how everybody else felt. Like it was miserable to go to practice, dude. I'm getting up at 5:15 in the morning to get to practice and go through everything. I also sprained both my AC joints in my shoulders, and I sleep on my side, and you can't sleep on your side like that. So I just couldn't sleep. I'm running on like no sleep, going practicing cold, and it's horrible, and it was just so miserable. And I'm just telling my boys, I'm like, I just want to make it through the season. Just, I want to finish. I got to finish football. I can't just call it quits now. Like this is not time.
Yep.
We go into the last couple games. I kept getting, kept yanking my chain. We go into the last game. We're facing Temple senior night. And I suit up for this. Obviously, like, we're going through our pictures and the whole nine. And Edsel, I take pictures of Edsel. And he's like, oh, be ready because you're going in tonight. And I'm like, you let me know. Sounds great. Can't wait. And it is like I think 38-0 at half. Oh, also before this game, going into the game, we had to hold we were a record-setting defensive team in the NCAA, because going into our last game, we had to hold Temple to negative 145 yards to tie the old record for the most yards allowed in a season by a defense.
Oh my God, dude. Wait, this was the year, right? That wasn't this the year? Like, I think after this year, like I heard rumors that they were talking about cutting the program, shit like that. I don't know if that was true, but yeah. So that was all real. Oh my God, dude. Real. And that's when they transferred out of the conference, right? And went to the independent, right? That was shortly after that.
No, so they played the next year in the American.
Okay, American.
Because
right?
I graduated 2019. Yeah, so I graduated. So that was fall 2018. 2019, they did the American. 2020, UConn was the only program that didn't play. And I personally think it was a play on Edsel to try and keep his job, because they also didn't do good the next year. Did a little bit better, but like not that much better.
Yeah.
But so we're going into senior night. Tells me I'm going to play, whatever. Sounds good. So I'm standing on the sidelines, whatever. I still got the headset on. I'm doing shit with teammates, doing the hand signals, talking to guys, whatever. Third quarter comes around. I think they got up to 42 or 45-0. I'm like, all right. Like, I look at my linebacker coach. I'm like, yeah, like, am I going to get in soon? Like, Edsel said I was going to get in. He's like, yeah, soon. Like, I'm going to go talk to him. I'll let you know. Drive goes by. And Temple's just running the ball because they're just trying to run the clock out here, too. Yeah. Don't forget. So we're having lengthy drives on defense. And then the fourth quarter comes around, and a couple of my buddies, I think it was at the beginning, like going into the half, they were like, yo, like just take my spot on special teams. I'm like, you know what? If I go and run this one kickoff down when I'm not supposed to be in by Edsel allowing me to, and it ends up being a touchback because our kicker, he was pretty good and it would always be a touchback. I'm gonna run down the field once, I'm gonna run right back to the sideline, and Edsel's gonna say, you're not going on the field at all. So
Yeah.
like I gotta save myself. If I can get out there at least for a couple of drives of defense, like say I did it.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter comes around, still nothing. So then I start undoing my gloves, taking my wristbands down to my wrist. I had them all, trying to get dripped out. You know what I'm saying? Got all sweatbands all over the place,
One
trying to look cool.
opportunity, bro. Yeah.
Hiding everything down, started undoing the gloves, put my helmet down on the side, started untying my cleats, and there's like 4 minutes left in the game. And my linebacker coach is like, all right, Woody, like you're going to go in next play. And I'm like, oh shit. All right, let me tie everything back up. So I tied it back up, and ironically, our defense got a turnover. So then our offense has the ball. They keep it for a little bit. I think we kicked like a field goal or whatever. I think we missed it because I don't think we scored a fucking point that game. And then, so then, oh yeah, you're going in the next drive.
That drive never came.
There's 2 minutes, 20 seconds left. I went out on the field with my buddy Santana because we were the seniors and they just needed out.
Damn. That's crazy, man.
And I just remember I just went into the locker room and like just like so morally like just defeated. Like I just only kept telling myself like because it was killing me because like once you're in football and you love football so much and then you shut that chapter and you're finally content with having that book close and then reopening it and getting invested. Like, dude, like, bro, when I was on the team, like, I had like if we're talking weight wise, I had the second highest squat on the team. I was squatting 575.
Damn.
Like, and that was something too. Like, Edsel was like, oh, like, squats, that's like the best lift for, football players. You got a high squat. It's going to translate to the field. And I throw up 575. And I wanted to get to 6. I put on 585 and like my shirt was all sweaty. So it slipped from my back because I never put it up on my traps. Cause I knew I was injury prone in high school. I messed up my neck. So like my nerve is kind of messed up. So I would never put it on my traps. I had to like rest it a little bit lower.
Yeah.
So it slipped. You got to take all the plates off. You put it back on. We had a time limit for how long we could max out for.
Yeah.
Buzzer went off. So whatever. I'll take 575. I'm cool with it. Right. All good. And I was just so defeated. Like, dude, even after football, like, I mean, combination of also it being like senior year, like, I just had no motivation to lift. Like, lifting reminded me of football, and football was just miserable for me. Like, it was like depressing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
I remember
would you say at the time you lost your love for the game? Or was it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%, man. Because I can relate to that. I could say for my own sake, I had my ending of my career happened with tearing my pec, and I didn't really get ending the way I wanted it to. But I can say that for the time that leading up to that and to that grad year that I was supposed to have, I fell so far out of love with the game, dude. Like, don't get me wrong, I still love football, and to this day, I'll always watch football and be a part of it. But dog, seeing that from just like the college perspective, how the meetings and all that, like it wasn't maybe, I don't know if it was the love. I don't know if it was the love for the game, but the way that college schedules worked, it was so demanding on my body, on my mind, on everything. And I had my own instances, other than yours, that, kind of similar, that I wasn't seeing the time that I wanted. And it was so defeating that it made me fall out of love with the game, and I don't know if you felt that too.
So the way that I'm going to describe it, I wouldn't say it's the love for the game, because you know what? If we're having a fun practice.
Yeah,
was
practice was great. Yeah.
You know what I think it was? It's not falling out of love for the game. It's going from this being, I guess, the best way to say it, because like a hobby is something you pick up and you enjoy and you want to do, and then it became a chore.
Fair
And
enough. Yeah.
that's the biggest thing for me, because I still love football. Like I still love, even though I wasn't playing, like we were in meetings like, oh, like this is this, that, this is the call you got to make when, if you're facing a spread, but the tight end's like he's at a wing position versus being on the line, like you got to do, like talking
Yep.
about all that intricacies of that. I love doing all that
Oh,
stuff.
100%. Yeah.
But
I mean,
it just turned into so much more of a chore that there wasn't like
there's no reward
there
for it.
was, yeah, there
You
wasn't like the
you were doing all
overall
that.
like for nothing.
Yeah,
It
you were
felt
doing
like
all that to sit in the box. And it's like, yeah, it's I guess that's where at the D1 level especially, like you just see the differences as far as just like the recruiting side of things goes. And you know, I mean, for at least me, like I was a walk on at WNE, and I didn't play my freshman year, and I walked on after. And obviously you see who the recruits are, you know who the recruits are, and they're obviously the starters and whatnot. But when it came to just like getting your fair share of time, like I can only imagine at the D1 level, it was just even harder. Like it's for so props to you for going through that, dude. Cause like I felt that from the same aspect, is that like there was no reward almost when you're putting in all that time and all that effort to not to get in at those last 2 minutes and 20 seconds of your senior night must have just been so shitty. It's like,
I'll put it to you this way. And this is not healthy, but I went home and my buddy Jack Daniels was my good friend that night. And yeah, that was, it's it's tough because with football, and obviously I can only really speak from this perspective. I know other sports, you're very invested in all different ways, and I don't want to take anything away from other sports, but like especially the investments you need to put in for, like, speaking at least just from the football perspective of like, don't forget our camp. I had to report back for camp. Also, another thing, I told you I had to take 3 classes.
yeah.
So 2 were in the first session, and the other one, I didn't realize that they had athlete specific courses that would finish up before, like, when all the teams would come back. So camp for us started in the end of July. My class finished midway through the second week of August.
Oh wow.
But for us, I would have to report, be at the complex by 7 in the morning, and I wouldn't leave there till 10 at night. So in between meetings and practice, like when everybody else is playing pool or playing cards or sleeping or doing whatever, I was in the student center because I had to bang out homework and then go into my classes. And well, that I wasn't going to classes then because I had an online course, but like, it was just so much dedication went into doing all of this and soaking up so much of my time, and just not getting any like reward from it. I had to just
Almost dropped my
tell
mic.
myself that like my reward was like, you could feel what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just the reward that I had to tell myself was like, even like I had to break it down to the small things. Like, okay, like I get like cool gear, like that's nice, but you know what? A t-shirt's a t-shirt. I can get something at Goodwill. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, not given. Yes, the gear is very nice. I love it, and I wear it all the time because it's awesome. It's athletic fit. It's dope. But like the fact that I remember sitting there after a little bit, and my only rewards were being able to keep the tutoring that I had, and then keeping like having the gear and like access to a couple of things, and like saying I played on the team. But I've never been somebody to just, I'm not a materialistic guy. So like flaunting the gear or whatever. Like I didn't really give a shit if I had a regular backpack or the one that had my little name tag with the UConn logo on it, or
Right.
the shirt, sweats. Like that stuff didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It was
100%.
nuts. Never gonna take anything away from any of that and having the tutoring and all that, but like my pride was just so hurt from wanting to play and do that stuff that it just, like, it was just so draining. And Like,
So what was something that like yeah, after all this is said and done, what helped you move on from the game?
um,
It doesn't have to be like one thing, but like, was there a different motivation? Because, for example, for me, like, I tore my pec and that was it, quits to my career, but immediately started working and started my business. So it was like I had something to pivot that passion. Was there something that was pivotal in your life that helped you kind of be okay with the way things ended?
no, nothing. After football, my grades took a little bit of a dip. I didn't do any tutoring spring semester. I wasn't consistent with it. Like I would get like a tutoring session or two before the exams, but it wasn't like how I was doing it in football where I had one per class every single week or every other week, depending on the
Wow.
course and how I was. So like my grades dipped a little bit, and I just was partying and just trying to get just away from it. Like I knew like all the like I could have gone back and lifted at the facility if there were no other sports in there, like no issue, still could have done that stuff. But I didn't want to be anywhere near it. I didn't
Yeah,
like
fair.
I didn't want to go and watch like I did pro day, but like the sad part about it is like I think I did pro day because I felt like there was other. I'll put it this way: there was other factors. There wasn't a real want for me to do pro day. I felt like I owed it to myself
Yeah,
to
fair
just.
enough.
But of course, the week before a week pro day was on a Wednesday. I got back a week before that Wednesday from spring break. So I had a full week before, and that like Friday or Saturday, I don't know. I was here, I was training and doing whatever. I don't know what I ate. I had food poisoning. So I didn't eat anything Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. The first full meal I had was Wednesday morning before pro day, and it was one over easy egg and like half a cup of rice.
Damn,
So
bro. So how are you
like,
functioning?
how, I was
How
like,
did
what?
how were you functioning? How'd you get through that pro day?
I didn't finish it.
Oh, you didn't.
I
Okay.
Yeah, I withdrew. We started doing some of the field drills after. Like I did like bench. We had 225, and I would say a month before that I could get 225, like low 20s, may like I'd say between 20 and 25. I think I only did 14 that day. Like vert and broad, I was never good at, and those were still probably like the worst I've had. 40-yard, also just from not stretching, like well, I stretched to warm up, but like from not like really being active those days before, like I didn't like pull anything, but I felt like I kind of like strained my hamstring on like my second or third 40 time, whatever it was. And I was like, all right, I'm just going through the ringer here. And we started doing some pad drills. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm done. And I just left immediately. Like, I just took off my cleats, didn't even shower there. Like, I just hopped back in my car, went back to my apartment, and then just laid in bed. But to continue with the like, I didn't have anything to like cope with it. I just was again other stuff. There was throughout my entire time in football, I had a lot of other stuff going on like outside of football, like on a personal level that
Yeah.
definitely did not help some of my decision making with like going out and doing things like that, and it made it easy for me to not turn it off and be more disciplined.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Because I wasn't disciplined. Like I definitely should have been more disciplined. And that's what I was saying before. Like I don't regret. I wouldn't say I don't regret how things went because once you've experienced something, I wouldn't want to take back any experiences I had.
Yeah. Fair
Um,
enough.
like sometimes I think about like, oh, what if I had my paper in FAU, and what if I made that team? Like how would things have been different? Not saying this would I'd be like league bound Woody or anything like that, but like
League
just
bound.
how yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like how
Yeah.
like I just
No, it
some
could have been
things
a completely you might have never even transferred. You never know.
that's what I'm saying. And
But
it's
like
stuff
in
it
the
does
same sentence though, you also yeah, that'll hurt, but like you did what you did, you know, you ended up where you ended up. And you know, I think moving forward that like you probably found some closure in the fact that things went the way they did. You still made the UConn football team, and you know, you were able to be a part of that for that time, you know.
I have to think about that to center myself, but I do tell you it's not near. It's here and there. I think thoughts about it, but like all spring semester and then all that summer, like I would keep me up at night, like just thinking about like how could things have gone different? What could I have done to change the outcome of that? And
Yeah,
it took me. I think it was finally during COVID was when I finally like,
dropped it all.
yeah, because then I just like, bro, like I got up to like 255 at one point. Like I was 225, 230 during the season, and then by like that winter, like right before COVID, I was like up there at like 250, and I was like, bro, like what are you doing? Like
Yeah,
and then I think through COVID, like finally just ironically having a lot more time just to yourself, because what else were you doing? I mean,
right.
found my love for golf. Now that's a new passion,
Yes, sir.
excluding football. You know, I think that um it's one of those things where for me it took a long time. I'm also somebody that like it's I have a difficult time being able to let things go.
Yeah,
So it took a very long time to really be okay with it all, because I wasn't for a long time, and I felt like that kind of led into um a lot of sorry, I gotta send this text really quick. My bad. I'm getting
now
like
you're
three
good.
calls. I'm good.
Good word.
So I think the biggest thing is that it took me a lot to finally get to a good point. Like I like, and not just for football, but just in general. It's like I need to go to therapy. Like I need to talk about a lot of these things,
Yeah,
and
man.
it took me a while to just like be able to let it go and just be okay with it all. And you know, like I still did it. I still walked on and played Division 1 football. Like nobody can take that away from me. Yeah, like did I play in games? No. Did any of those accolades that I died for, wanted for, dreamed of when I was a little kid happen? No. But you know what? Like you got to take it for what it is. Like I still did it. Still, again, like I went within a full calendar year. I went from getting a letter of being dismissed from UConn to being an active person on their football roster.
It's impressive in
So like,
itself, man.
but that's what I'm saying. And that it took me a while to just look at it from that perspective rather than just being mad that like I didn't do anything when I was there. But it's like you gotta, you know, people get so focused in like you're looking at like where you're going or where you're not going, but also sometimes you got to look back to ground yourself again to realize where you've come from. And
100%.
sometimes that's motivation to propel you forward, you know? And I feel like that was a big part about it. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, like I didn't want to be like around football. Like I didn't want to I like I didn't I didn't want to go to like a UConn game. Like I went to like one UConn game, but I was like drinking and I wasn't really like paying attention to the game. Like I was trying to watch for my buddies, but like, you know, it took me a while to like want to be there and be around, especially now with Mora as the coach there. Like I want to be involved. Like actually next, I think it's what's today? Today's the 10th. In 2 weeks on a Wednesday, like Mora gets the alumni involved so much. Like they're doing a
That's
dinner
awesome.
at Rentschler. They invited the alumni, so I'm going to that, which will be exciting. You know, ironically, one of the kids, and it's funny because like I kind of view it in a similar role to like our relationship. There was a kid when I was a senior and he was a freshman, and now he actually played football at UConn and then now works for them. And I stumbled into them at Illicit like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it was. And you know, at one point he's turned, I was like, dude, like you were one of the main ones, like showed me the ropes, like this, and that. And I felt like that was like the final like release of totally being just fine with everything,
Yeah.
because I realized I still like had an impact. And he's like, dude, like I learned like so much from you, like all that stuff. And I was just kind of like, I felt like I was just in my own little world most of the time on the team, and still realizing that I had an impact, even though like I wasn't playing or anything like that. Like that just still like,
Yeah, I had a similar experience, and is my obviously tore my pec and was out for that season. But my last guest I had on Joe Eldridge. He's a quarterback at WNE. He was a freshman when I was going through that, and he was injured by chance during that time that I was injured, and he was just telling me stories of like honestly, I could barely remember the conversations he was talking about, but like he was like, yeah, dude, like we chopped it up. You were the one of the first people that I met at campus, and like we chopped it up, and that had an impact on me. I was like, and it kind of like made me reflect on my time there and everything that I was battling. I went through my own mental health issues of how I was, gonna say goodbye to a career, and I propelled a lot of my energy into my business and all that, but I definitely like I blocked certain things out of my head to really just be okay with life and how it was moving at that time. And it took me like after watching the podcast over like 3 different times and like hearing what he said, it was like, damn, I actually did have more of an impact than I felt. And I'm sure you probably felt that way too. So that was felt almost rewarding for me, it's just like hearing that was cool. So
and that's exactly what it was for me, dude. Like hearing him talk about that and like, just do like just talk about the impact that I had on him. I was like, bro, like, damn, like I would have never thought like you about to like you got me all emotional now. That was
yeah,
my boy Hunter, but it was just yeah, it was a like I don't know. I look back on my time and I'm grateful for the experience, and everything, whether you like the way whatever you're going through, whether it's enjoyable or not or different, it shapes you, makes you who you are. And I like who I am now. So I appreciate the experience that I had, and I wouldn't change any of that. Do I wish some of the stuff went more in my favor? Of course, anybody would.
yeah,
But like
100%. Yeah,
make you who you are, you know, build that character, those calluses to certain things that like like I don't know, like taking stuff, like even like I related to like the work setting. Like, I'm not taking anything like personally, and I kind of realized that you got to watch out for yourself, and you could get told something from a superior at work, like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen, this, and that. But you also have to be okay if none of that happens, and if they just gas your head up and nothing happens. Like you have to have your plan, and you got to just keep it moving. And you know what, you're going to create your own path, and stuff will fall into place, whether and whatever's meant to happen will happen. So
100%.
again, like, and it's funny because like my dad in my bag when I left for Florida Atlantic packed my heist. So I mean, I love my dad for it, and I still kept it, but like he found like my gloves or whatever, mouth guard or something like that, and he put like a little sticky note like, oh, you're gonna need this fall, like trying to hype me up to like walk on the team. And then like as I called him, tell him I walked on the team, he was all like pumped, the whole nine. And I remember I was like going through my drawer or whatever, and then I found it like that same night, like the same, gloves, mouth guard, note, and I was like, damn, like how ironic is this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely an interesting experience, and I'm very glad that UConn's moving in the way that it is, and I have
Moving
my
in the right direction, man. They're making all the good moves right now. From what I've seen, like Jim Mora really turning that program around.
uh,
A lot of good guys
very
there, keeping a lot of Connecticut guys at home, and guys like Victor Rosa. There's a kid that committed from Avon Old Farms who's a freshman. There's a kid from Cromwell, Teddy Williams. I think that's his last name. Yeah. But guys like that, like keeping home guys here, and it's cool to see, man, because like all this like work that I'm doing for my production company for these athletes that I work with, it's like I really want to see Connecticut be put on the map, man. Like this is our state, this is our home. This is there's so many people out there that didn't get to where they wanted to be. And I think they didn't have the solutions in place. Like some of the things that I'm trying to do, there's certain creators and certain people that I'm talking with right now that have a lot of the same visions that I do. And seeing Connecticut football, UConn football be the front runner of a lot of this change is awesome, dude. Like, and for you to be able to say that you're alumni of that program, I think that's speaks very highly of you and just your work ethic. And it's been cool to see play out, man. It's I'm sure it's been a journey and a half for you.
Yeah, it was absolutely a journey. And I will say another thing that I take from like this whole experience that's cool is that like I can watch on Sundays and be like, yeah, like I played with that guy. And
Yep.
like for instance, Travis Jones from West Haven plays for the Ravens, drafted in the third round.
Yep.
Um, he was a cool dude. There's this Foley Fatukasi. He was a senior my first year. He got drafted by the Jets, played with the Jets, now with the Jags. Kid Tyler Davis, tight end for the Packers. Um, this guy Matt Pert played
I know Matt
offensive
Pert.
tackle for the Giants,
Yep.
and it was funny because I played scout team against him all the time, and so I would play linebacker or sometimes depending because like we would do the scout defense based on what their personnel was. So if
Yep.
they had like a lighter guy at the end, I would go and do it. But we'd be doing practice reps, and I'd like go against him. And sometimes when he had me, I'd just be like he'd have me like by the breastplate. I'd be like, just don't drop me. And he'd just be like laughing as he's driving me back like 5-10 yards. And it's funny, just like I don't know, just like it's cool to I guess to like see these guys like practice with them. And I mean, even sometimes shit like I saw a couple of them like all twisted up in college, we're at a bar
Yeah.
or something like that.
Exactly.
Now that dude is, teammates with Trevor Lawrence, and he's getting sacks on Brady or what, you know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Exactly.
That it's cool stuff to see. So,
Yeah.
you
Keeps you
know.
motivated as a fan too, knowing that you played with those guys. Like, makes it almost more rewarding to watch on Sundays when you see your boys out there balling. It's like, I had a buddy that I played ball with. He made it to a CFL team, and he was this kid was just a freak athlete from Australia. And like he came over here, played football, was an absolute stud. Then he went to play for the Calgary Stampeders up there. And like just being able to say, like, I played with that kid, like kid was a dog. It's like makes it rewarding to watch and see their career play out. And you live vicariously through them.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
bro. 100%. Absolutely.
So did you have anything, like I always like to leave up to my, older guests, you are getting pretty old now. No, I'm just kidding. I am too. But do you have any words of encouragement for guys like yourself, man? Like, I got my own story, but hearing your story puts in perspective of how hard it was to be a college athlete. You got any words of encouragement for guys coming up right now, being recruited, maybe are under recruited, and what could you say to them moving forward for their careers?
Kind of piggybacking on what I just said like a couple minutes ago, like you you cannot rely on other people to pave your path for you. You have to put in the work, you have to grind, you have to put in the time, and all those things of like, you know what, like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to get up and do this. Go do it. Like all the extra little things that you can do and slide in here and there into your like day to day. Like I knew a wide receiver on the team, like when he was a freshman, like he couldn't catch the passes because Brian Sheriffs at the time, like he's throwing bullets and these passes are so fast he didn't have the grip strength for it. So what he would literally do go into class, he had like one of like the grip things that you just squeeze. You know what I'm talking about? Like those
Yeah.
little grip
Yeah.
strength
Yeah.
things. He would just sit in class, dude, in his like when he's just chilling, he'd just be sitting there going at it with those. And then when I tell you that dude's grip, ridiculous by the time he was
Oh,
just
I'm
like a
sure.
junior. Like it's just all those small things, like whatever small things you could do to like just hone your craft and get better at it. And also realize that you're the spearhead of everything. Like if you think it's just going to get laid out for you, it's not gonna. And each level you go up, it gets harder. So if you think you're going to rely on your athletic ability and you'll just be chilling, you're gonna have a rude awakening, because that is not gonna fly each level you go up in. So
100%, dude. 100%.
you absolutely
It was
need to do
football was
that.
like 80% mental and 20% of actual skill. That's what it really came down to. What I saw, it was like if you weren't making the right, if you were making mental errors, and if you were making mental errors for your body and just not preparing yourself each week, you weren't going to play. And I think that's something I like, that you're kind of the pave your own road. What you make of your story is what's going to come out of it, right? So I think that's a good message for a lot of my athletes right now in my program. It's like I'm trying to help them pave that road, right? Keep them on the right track. Our group GPA right now is a 3.2. Like, we're doing good. So it's like keeping these kids on the straight and narrow, but like also allowing them to build that path. It's a cool concept there. So I'm gonna probably take that in a couple of my meetings. But yeah, dude, I think moving forward, this podcast will probably come out hopefully by the end of the weekend. I'm looking to maybe release it either probably Sunday, so we can get it out. But I would love to have you actually Sunday night, 8:30. I'm doing a networking session, but I host networking sessions weekly, bi-weekly sometimes, for my athletes in the program. I'd love to have you on and have you kind of talk some knowledge and some game and all that, because 4 of my athletes just started camp this week, so they're full-fledged into the fire, man. So
Let's do it.
yeah,
You let me know. I'm there for it.
sweet,
Absolutely.
sweet. I'd appreciate that. Well, man, I think this was good, man. It's starting to get late, and I think we covered a lot of the bases. I think in the future, I definitely would keep it open if you're ever down to do another episode, dude. I'm always looking for guests, so I think this was good, and I was happy to have you on, man. Thank you for coming on tonight.
I appreciate you having me on, my guy. Trust, I've been wanting to do this, so and anything I can help moving forward. Gotta help the youth, bro.
Yeah,
Gotta
that's it,
stay
man.
healthy. Learn from our mistakes, pass them on. You know what? Sometimes the best mistakes you're gonna learn from are your own, but you're able to get some little things in your head if you start going down the path. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, this person made this mistake. Oh, let me steer away from that. Like all that type of stuff
100%,
helps. So
100%, bro. 100%. I agree with you. Well, NPU podcast episode 6 with former University of Connecticut football player Jeff Woodcock, my good friend from Middletown, Connecticut. Thank you, brother, for hopping on tonight, and I appreciate you for being a guest on the NPU podcast.
I appreciate you for having me, man. Love it.
Cheers,
Continue the good work, man.
thanks, bro.